Hey everyone, in this video I'm just going to show off my playthrough for Streets of Rage 1. Now here this is just the options menu, there's not really much to change since this came out in the early 90s and all. And this is also the version that I bought from Steam. So here we have the character selection screen. I'm just going to choose Axel based on the power and speed advantage that he has. Now, since this version is from Steam, when you buy it on there, it comes in where you can actually either launch it through the Sega's emulator that comes included when you purchase any of the Genesis games. And there's a good start there. So either you can use the included emulator, or because the Steam version comes with an uncompressed ROM, you can just launch it in any emulator you want. Like in this video, I'm playing Streets of Rage through RetroArch. And it's a pretty simple game to play, just one punch, one kick, and the special, which you're gonna see later on, starting in the next stage. Now what I just did a few seconds ago was Axel's back fist attack. All three characters have an attack where you can hit behind the back. To do that, all you have to do is just press the jump and attack buttons at the same time, and you can hit anyone who's behind you. And there I just got an apple. For apples, they only give you a small amount of health, while turkeys, on the other hand, which you're gonna see later on, will fill up your health completely. And so here I have a glass bottle, not really useful as a weapon. Honestly, I just grabbed it just to use it once, but I'm not really gonna use it for the rest of this time. Now regarding weapons, you can only use them up to 3 times. After you drop it for the second time, after you first picked it up, the weapon's gonna disappear like it just happened here, and then it's gone. Now the only thing weapons are really good for is to keep opponents at a distance, because otherwise they can just gang up on you from both sides. Other than that, it doesn't really do that much more damage than just regular attacks. And then I'm just gonna get another apple. And for the first few stages, it's pretty easy. You can just go straight through these guys. Now when fighting that guy, the martial arts get up. So he has 2 attacks. Either when he gets up close, he kicks you, or he'll jump over you, then launch a charge and kick at you. So it's best to fight them pretty much up close to avoid getting trapped, or because usually they can jump on behind you and attack you that way pretty easily. And here we're gonna see another new enemy. So for the women with the whips, the best way to fight them is what I'm doing, just grab them up close and hit them. Because otherwise on occasion, if you hit them a couple of times with punches and kicks, what they would do is they would kneel down, and once they kneel down, you cannot do any further damage, and you gotta wait for them to get back up. Now the turkey I'm gonna leave alone for now because I'm about to fight a boss. So in this game, usually when you see a turkey, that means the bosses, you're pretty much almost there at the end of the level. And this boss is pretty easy to fight against. So all you have to do is just go either to the top or the bottom of the screen, and then from there just move towards them and grab them for attacks. It's pretty much an easy way, and you see here just really easy to do some damage. Here I'm about to finish him off. And that thinging sound was me getting a new life, so now I have 4 lives. After you get a certain amount of points, you earn a new life. And so in this stage, in a minute or so, you're gonna see me use a special attack. Now when it comes to specials, each character has the same special move, which you're going to see in about a minute, see exactly what it does. Now, do not be afraid to use your special when you're low on health, because every time you die, you get one special. And you will always start a new level with one special. And that's a special move that clears everyone. At least for the regular enemies, it clears everyone, but for the bosses, it does a good amount of damage. So it's generally best to either save them for the boss fight or when you're about to lose a life. Now, when I grab the knife weapon, you can actually throw it as well, along with just stabbing someone. What you do is you grab the knife, walk forward for a couple of seconds, and while you're continually walking forward, press the attack button, and then you can just throw the knife. And it's not really too useful for me, especially later on in the game when you're going to meet more enemies that just rush straight towards you and trap you from both sides. So I'm not really a fan of the weapon. Now what I just did was the jump counter, so for those guys in the yellow jackets, they can grab you and throw you. Now in order to avoid damage, you have to press the jump button right when you're about to hit the ground, or you can just mash the jump button and then you will counter, land on your feet and not take any damage. So here I got an apple, not too much longer from the end of the stage. And for those guys in blue, you have to watch out, because after you hit them the first time, they will generally run straight towards you. And here I'm just going to get out of that hole. When someone grabs you, what you can do is press the jump button twice to try and make sure other enemies do not attack you. And then after you jump the second time, just press the forward button and attack, and then you can throw that enemy away from you. And for this guy with the axe thrower, just keep your distance to a certain extent. If you get too close and try to grab him, you're gonna take damage. And there's the turkey, which means we're right about to fight the boss. And again, just keep your distance to a certain extent to make sure you do not take any damage. And now there you can throw him, and that's the only case where you can do so, because he just finished throwing a couple of axes. And for this boss, the same strategy as the first one. Even with the other guy just chasing you, you can still do the same thing. And that guy you can pretty much just ignore. You just gotta go into the main boss, just grab and throw. And here I'm just waiting for him to come down. There we go. And now I'm about to finish him off with the knife. So here you're gonna start seeing some enemies wearing new clothes, but they're exactly the same enemies, just a different colors. So you do not need to change the way you fight against these guys. And here's a pretty easy levels for the most part. You just find the same enemies pretty much. So here I'm just gonna use a bat just to keep my distance. And if you look at the top of the screen, they gave me another special because I already used one in the previous level. So again, don't be afraid to use the specials. That's whenever you start the next level, you have one special always to use outside of the final level. Now one thing I want to mention is, if you're at full health, grabbing an apple or a turkey will not give you any extra points. So if you're at full health and you're about to move on to the next section of the level, you can just ignore those. And another thing I forgot to mention is, if you're holding a weapon when you grab someone, you're not going to lose it when you throw them. Now here I need to grab the apple so it took some damage. Now in a minute so you're gonna see a new turkey, which is right there. That's gonna be because there's a bunch of enemies. These three guys that are just gonna pop up at once. So there I just wasted a special pretty much. When you see those martial arts guys, 3 or more of them gang up together, make sure you grab and throw them immediately so you can trap them to one side and make it easier to fight. And so here I'm getting close to fighting the boss battle. This boss is going to pretty much be similar to the previous bosses, and we just use one specific tactic and they're pretty easy to beat. And just good strategy in general, just to make sure you always throw someone to the other side of where the other enemies are, just to make sure you have everyone on one side and prevent getting attacked. Because if you have enemies surrounding you on both sides, they can do a lot of damage really quickly, which you're going to see later on as we get to the later levels. And here we're about to fight the next boss, and he's pretty easy to beat. So what you would do is you're going to spam the jump attack in order to finish him off. And that's what you do, you just step away and do a jump attack. Step away, jump, we just keep repeating this over and over again, and you can beat him easily. So at this stage, you have to be careful with jumping to the right. And also I want to point out the guy, and now is appearing in the purple jacket. Same strategy as before for that guy. He can throw you and there's nothing else that's different. Now as far as jumping goes, be careful when jumping to the right, because there's some pitfalls which you're going to see in a minute, where if you jump, you're going to fall and lose a life. And the same goes for enemies as well. You can just throw them into the pitfall and just get rid of them right away. And here's the pitfall I was mentioning. So also, if you're walking on the top of the stage, do not be careful when you're going down. And here I'm just going to use a special, because I don't want to risk getting caught up, getting attacked from both sides, or getting knocked into the pitfall. And the money bags, they just give you extra points. So be sure to grab them, as you can get occasional extra life. And here I'm just going to try knocking this guy in after I throw him. And again, just be careful when you're jumping to the right. Just make sure you're nowhere near the pitfall when you're trying to jump. Now for that guy, I was staying on the bottom. I was hoping to see if I can get him to jump into one of the pitfalls, but unfortunately he just stays on top, so I just gotta go after him and finish him off. But that is something that can happen though, when they just jump right into the pitfall. And so there I just got the turkey, which means I'm right about to fight the boss. And here's what I was mentioning earlier, like guys just jump right on top of you. So whenever you get into a situation, just grab them and throw them to the other side towards the other enemies, so you can fight them all on one side. And here I'm just gonna get rid of a few more enemies before we get into the boss fights. Now for this boss you have to be a little careful. Whenever you see his mouth opening up, that means he's about to launch his fire attack. So whenever you do that, just move up or down and then close the distance to grab him. So here he's about to open up his mouth and I'm gonna go up. So for this boss, do not try throwing him because of his size. If you try to throw him, he's gonna fall on top of you and take away some of your health. So just grab him and hit him that way instead of trying to throw. And here I'm just gonna finish him off. So this is where the AI difficulty starts picking up, as the AI starts being more aggressive and you're going to see more enemies thrown at you at once than in the previous levels. And also, during this level you're going to encounter one of the previous bosses we fought. And right after that, you're going to have to encounter what's, to me, is the most annoying and frustrating boss outside of the final one. The boss in this level is going to be real frustrating. At least for me, I've had trouble with the boss, but you're going to see that later on. So there I just got another life, but as I use a special, I'm going to be losing some of those lives real soon as the difficulty picks up in a few minutes. And that's an example of what I was mentioning earlier. When you hit these ladies either once or twice, they will kneel down, but you cannot hit them until they get back up. So always grab them and either throw or just hit them with knees when you grab them. And here, just make sure you just always grab and throw them, just so you can clear the side. And here's when I grab that turkey, as I'm about to lose a life. And here's where it starts to get a little difficult, because you got these martial arts guys charging and kicking you, while you have the other guys in the green just running after you. And here I'm trying to get this turkey. There, I was able to get it. And now you do have that green guy charging towards you. You have these martial arts guys trying to kick you. So from here, this is the boss from stage 3. And again, you do not need to use a special here. I just use it by accident because by accident I clicked the special button. But you can just do the same strategy as before. Just jump and kneel. Now that's the throw. As many times as I played this game over the years, that's the first time I've actually ever seen that throw move from this guy. But again, all you gotta do is just spam the jump. You just keep doing that spam jump move over and over again. You can beat them pretty easily. And here I'm just going to use another special right away because those guys can do so much damage real quick. So I'm just going to use a special just to get rid of these guys immediately. And soon I'm going to get another special right there. I'm going to use that as well because these guys can throw the axes from both sides. I'm just going to get rid of them real quick. So for that turkey, I would suggest leave that alone unless you're pretty much about to die, because you're going to need that for this boss fight. It's going to happen in a minute or so. And again, to me, this is going to be the most frustrating boss outside of the final one. And here's the twin sisters, who are frustrating to fight for multiple reasons. For one, you cannot throw them, because the moment you get up close, they're gonna throw you. But at the same time, as they're jumping around, you gotta be real careful because they can still kick you if you're too close. So my strategy, what I've tried doing, is what I'll do is I'll try to keep some distance, and once they get somewhat close, I will try to hit them with punches and kicks to knock them away. What you can also do is if they're chasing you, is just hit them with a back fist, which I'm trying to do here. So as soon as they jump down, let's try to attack them with punches and kicks. So here I've done a pretty good job so far, but they're gonna grab me soon and kill me. Yeah, so the key is to keep your distance from them, and if they get close, just do the back fist. Now if you're using Blaze, I believe she uses a upwards kick move where she covers more of range, so she may be better to use against these bosses than Axel. And as I'm about to lose life, I just use a special because I don't want to let it go to waste, because I get another one as soon as they kill me. And so now I have another special, so I can just use that again, just to take out some more health. And there I was walking back, trying to keep my distance and trying to use the back fist, but I messed up on the timing. I couldn't get it down. And there's the back fist I was mentioning. But again, if you're using Blaze, she'll probably be much better to use that move with. So in this stage, you're gonna encounter some stage traps that you can use to actually deal damage to the enemies instead of taking damage yourself, which you're gonna see in a minute. So you're gonna see here, that's the trap I was mentioning, that platform. Once you get close enough, you're gonna see a red light right there. And after it flashes, that means the platform is about to go down. So once you get close, that platform comes down. So that's a good way to trap them. So here I'm staying close, and there we go. So if you ever get trapped by enemies, you can just do that as a way to try and push them away from you. Now at this stage, you're also gonna fight. Here's the boss from a previous stage. So again, same strategy as before. And you don't have to deal with any other enemies charging towards you. So this guy is pretty easy to beat. You just gotta wait for him to open his mouth and then change the distance and just keep hitting him this way. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but if you have full health, you don't really need to pick up the turkey or the apple. It's not going to give you any extra points. Now here we're about to get a second special. You're gonna see in a minute or so. When you get the second special, I would suggest do not use it unless you're really about to lose a life. Because going into the boss fight with 2 specials is gonna make it much easier. And so here's that second special, and again, do not use them unless it's absolutely necessary, as it's going to be a real big help for clearing out the boss fight, which is coming up in a minute or so. Now that guy who was moving around where you did not see any access to him, I'm not sure that's an issue with the emulator or the ROM itself, or if the original game was like that. I don't remember if the original Emmy wearing those clothes did not have any access circling around, but he is able to throw them, so even though you're not seeing him juggle any of those axes, he can still throw them at you. So the same strategy as before with the other guys. And there's the turkey, meaning we're right about to get started with the boss fights. And so for this boss fight, you gotta fight 2 of these guys. But it's the same strategy as before, you just gotta be careful when they close in and do some damage. So I'm gonna leave that turkey alone for now. And now I'm gonna pick it up, just to be safe. And as you can see, it doesn't take much to really do some damage. And so pretty soon I'm gonna start using the specials to just get rid of them. And it takes around half the meter waste, which is 1. So the first guy's already done. So I'm just gonna use the second one right away, and just get rid of the second guy. Then I can just finish up with the first, real easy. And there we go. Now this stage is the only stage in the game without a boss fight, but this one's really more of an endurance or survival type of stage where you just gotta fight a bunch of these enemies as you're going up the elevator, all the way till you get to the top of the building when you reach the end of the level. Now as you just saw there, you can knock enemies off the elevator or throw them as well, but the same goes for you as well, where they can knock you or throw you off. So whenever you find the guys in the yellow and purple jackets, specifically be real careful that they're not on the right side where they can grab you and throw you off the elevator. And just as a reminder with those guys, you can counter their throws by just pressing the jump button when you're about to hit the ground, or just mash the jump button, which you're gonna see in a minute or so. And that's what I was mentioning there as from before. Just be careful with those guys specifically. Make sure they're on the left side and not the right. Because if they're on the right side, you can just lose a life right away. One other thing I want to mention is this will also be the last stage where you can use the specials. As the next stage is going to be the last one, and you will not be able to use any specials in that stage. And again, to counter the throw, just make sure you press the jump button right before you're about to land, or mash the jump button to make sure you do not take any damage when you land. Okay, right off the bat, you're gonna see that dining table. You're gonna see multiple tables approaching you in the level. Whenever you see one of those approaching you, just hit the attack button, and then from there you can just hit it and avoid taking any damage as it just goes right past you. If you do not press the attack button, it's gonna do some damage when it hits you. Now, this level also includes a boss run where you're gonna fight each of the bosses from the previous levels before you get to the final boss. Other than that, it gets pretty easy until you get close to the end, as there's only a couple enemies at a time that appear on the screen until you get pretty close to it. After you get to around the level 4 boss or so, that's when it starts to get difficult. And for the first boss, same strategy as earlier. Just move up and down, grab him, and attack or throw. He has a pretty easy boss to take care of. And you just saw it there, I did not press the attack button in time, I got hit by that dining table. But it doesn't really do a lot of damage, and I'm just gonna get the turret before I move past it so I can recover that damage back. And so here's the level 2 boss, same strategy as before. Just keep going up and down and attack, and it's not going to take very long to get rid of him. And here with the stage 3 boys, the same strategy as earlier. Jump and kick every 2 or 3 seconds and get rid of him real easy. And those more shorts guys you gotta watch out for in this part of the game here, as they can do a lot of damage real quick. And they're gonna get even worse after I fight the next boss coming up. So here again, same strategy. Just grab, attack, finish them off real quick and easy. And here the martial arts guys make their return, and it gets a little frustrating here. And I want to grab them, but they keep kicking me or jumping away. See, I'm trying to grab him again, keep jumping away, and now I lose a life. And I'm gonna start losing lives real quick, as I'm gonna fight the stage next boss after this. And this is gonna be the twin sisters again. And here they are again. Now here I'm trying to use the back fist move more often. I keep messing up on the timing and then I keep getting caught. Like I just did there. Now the good news is right after you beat them, you get to fight the final boss. Assuming you're able to get past these bosses here. Just as frustrating as in the previous level. In hindsight, now that I think about it, I could have just jumped away instead of just using the back fist. The only problem with that is they will still keep following you constantly. And even if you jump, they're gonna jump attack you and can still catch you. So it's really no great way. This is the best way that I can think of. But again, if you have Blaze, it's probably easier to use the back kick attack that she has. See, now I'm starting to get the hang of the back fist attack, but I already lost 2 lives against these two, and counting, because it's gonna be more. And there's 3 lives, and now I get to use my first continue. Now here I wanted to put in the word damn, because these sisters are so frustrating. I ended up pressing the right D-pad a little too fast, and I ended up putting in Dan instead. Just great. And already I'm about to lose another life. Man, these bosses are just pure trash. They're the only ones I have trouble with. All the other ones I can beat real easy. And that's 4 lives now. And I'm gonna lose a bunch more once I get to the final boss in a minute. And when it comes to continues, you get 3 continues total. Which you're gonna need once you get to this point in the game, because the final boss can do a lot of damage real quick. And now I just gotta finish up these guys here before I get to the final boss. Now for here, make sure you choose no. If you choose yes, he's gonna send you down all the way back to stage 6, and then you gotta fight back from there all the way to this part of the game again. So always make sure you choose no here. And after you beat up a few of his enemies here, he's gonna get up from his chair and start shooting at you with his machine gun. And you just gotta beat up a couple more enemies, and then you can start the real fight against him. And as far as the pipe goes, don't even bother with it. With the way this guy fights, you're gonna lose it quick anyways. So it really makes no sense to even bother picking it up. And whenever he shoots the machine gun, just use the jump attack, as you can avoid taking any damage and you can knock the bullets away. Now he has a charge attack, like level 3 boss like you just saw. But it does more damage, and spamming the jump attack does not work here, which you're gonna see. If you try to spam the jump attack, his charge is gonna go right through it. And just like that, I gotta use another continue. like I just did there, I tried using the jump attack, but it didn't work. He just went right through it. So as far as the strategy goes, I can't really think of a good strategy to beat him without taking any damage. I'm pretty sure there is one. I damn sure don't know what that strategy is. Or maybe the best strategy is just to go in as many lives and continues as possible and just be patient until you're able to close the distance and attack him. And here I'm at my last continue. But with that being said, I'm able to finish him off before I lose my remaining lives. And finally I'm able to beat him. And here you just put in the final initials to save your final score. And this game's still a lot of fun. I first played this game back in the early 90s, maybe like a year or two after it came out. Even after all these years, it still holds up and it's still a pretty fun game. Well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll talk to you next time.